Next, yes, this is the angle of dip or angle of declination. But this magnetic meridian axis is making an angle with respect to the horizontal line of the earth also. This one. So the angle made by the vertical axis of the earth to the magnetic meridian is called angle of declination, D. But the same magnetic meridian axis making an angle with respect to the horizontal axis of the earth also, which is passing through the equator. This is called angle of inclination, where I is equal to angle of inclination. The another name of this angle of inclination is called angle of dip. So these values are very small in India at some particular places. This angle of declination is higher at the higher altitudes, smaller at the equators. Whenever the declination is larger, inclination will be less, and declination is smaller, inclination will be larger, because they are the opposite in nature, and we can say, so if it is theta, it will be 90 minus theta, like that. So if D is theta, I will be 90 minus theta. We know this trigonometrical rules, so we can apply the same here. So these one increasing, another one will decrease. So they both are reciprocals to each other, or we can say inversely proportional to each other. So in this case, so what about the India? How to seek the exact north pole or exact north direction for this India? So for that purpose, if you go to the two different places in India, one place is Delhi, this is the reference points, one place is Mumbai. So in Delhi, the angle of declination is 0 degrees 41 minutes at east. In Mumbai, it is 0 degrees 58 minutes of west. So these are the values, means in Delhi it is shifts towards the east. Okay, so like this. This will be 0 degrees 41 minutes. The same will be here. So it will be 0 degrees 58 minutes of the west. So these two values are very less when compared to the remaining parts of India. That's why at these two places we can expect the actual seeking of the North Pole, or the true direction of the north, true position of the North Pole of north direction. So like this we can understand the magnetic declination and dip. So how to find out the actual magnetic strength of a position on the earth? It should be resoluted into 2 or 3 components, and we should do the vector addition of those components. So to find out the total magnetic field, the magnetic field at a point on earth is having 3 resoluted components. First one is HE, horizontal component. Second one is ZE, vertical component. The last one is BE, resultant magnetic field. So if you go back to the vectors calculation, if two vectors A, B are like this, C bar will give the A bar plus B bar like that. So such that the total magnetic field BE will be a vector addition of HE and ZE. So for this purpose, we should take a point P on Earth's surface. So it will be like this. Yes, we are taking a point P here. This is the true north direction. So at this point P on Earth, we are calculating the total magnetic field. So the total magnetic field will be resoluted as HE BE and exactly downwards vertical ZE. So this is angle of declination. So this is angle of inclination. This is an axis which is passing through it. So if you want to find out the total magnetic field of the earth with respect to this HE and ZE, we should do the vector calculation. In this case of vector calculation, so what we can understand is, if you see this one, yes, sin I is equal to ZE by BE, cos I is equal to HE by BE. So HE is equal to BE cos I, ZE is equal to BE sin I. So if you calculate those things, we will get the vector component of the Earth's magnetic field in the terms of tan. So from this diagram, sin I is equal to, we can join this HE and BE like this. So sin I is equal to ZE by BE. So we can write ZE is equal to BE sin I. This is equation 1. Next, cos I is equal to HE by BE, adjacent. From this we can write HE is equal to BE cos I. This is equation 2. If you do 1 by 2, equation 1 by equation 2 on LHS and RHS, we will get BE by BE cancel out, sin I by cos I is tan I, so ZE by HE. Equation 1 by equation 2 will give ZE by HE is equal to BE sin I by BE cos I is nothing but tan I. So the vertical component of the Earth's magnetic field is equal to tan of inclination into horizontal component of the Earth. So this is the formula we are going to use to find out the Earth's magnetic field at a given particular position. Spherically, this will be written in a different way. The spherical shape of this Earth's magnetic field will be like this. Here we are taking a sphere. This is the actual magnetic north. This will be ZE. This will be HE. This is the resultant BE. So ZE and BE are opposite to each other. ZE and HE are in the same nature. So BE and HE are adjacent to each other with respect to angle. Theta, phi. So we can write this one as vertical component as a inclination, this one as a declination. So like this, we can understand this concept. So what will happen when a magnet is placed at the poles? So at poles, the magnetic behavior is very small to exist. So because at poles, some G value also increases. If G value increases, there is a different situation with respect to the magnetism. So at poles, the magnetic field lines appear to be converged or diverged from a common point. Converged at one common point or diverged from a common point. Because the magnetic field strength is very particular about one position and remaining position it is very negligible. So that's why mostly the magnetic field appear to be seems vertically down with a slight angle difference like this. Slight angle, very slight, because it is near to the poles. So in the direction, so we will see a small dip angle. So because of this small dip angle, it won't be a significant magnetic field at the poles. It seems to be a downward in the nature. Here is the problem with respect to the total magnetic field at a meridian axis. The content of the problem is, in the magnetic meridian of a certain place, the horizontal component of the Earth's magnetic field is 0.26 Gauss. So we can write the solution. So while we are solving any problem, it is better to write all the physical quantities, then we may get an idea to solve it. So horizontal Earth's magnetic field is 0.26 Gauss. So and the dip angle is 60 degrees. Cos I it is, where I is equal to 60 degrees. Angle of dip, I is equal to 60, cos 60. Cos I is equal to cos 60 degrees. Cos 60 degrees is equal to sin 30, it will be half. So what is the magnetic field of the Earth at this location? So we should find out what is the magnetic field of Earth. So there is a relation between HE, BE, cos E. So cos I is equal to HE by BE. So we can write BE is equal to HE by cos I. So the HE is equal to 0.26 Gauss. Cos I is equal to half. So therefore BE is equal to 0.26 by half, this 2 will go up, 0.52 Gauss. This point is very, very important. So like this we can find out the BE values. The next concept is magnetization and magnetic intensity. And magnetic intensity. These two concepts are correlated to each other. So if you take a solenoid or any interior of the solenoid, it contains two different magnetic fields, interior field, exterior field. The total magnetic field due to the solenoid is the sum of interior field plus exterior field. So the total magnetic field is equal to M is equal to M net by unit volume. So the magnetization is equal to capital M is equal to M net per unit volume. We know that magnetic field strength B is equal to mu naught Ni, where N is equal to number of turns per unit length, where I is equal to total current passing through it, where mu naught is the permeability. If this is the case, take a solenoid like this. If this is the turn, so if this is the case of the solenoid, if the interior of the solenoid is placed with a non-zero magnetic substance, then the magnetic field inside the solenoid will be greater than the B naught, which is actually B naught. So the magnetization due to this non-zero magnetic field will be Bm. We can write this one as mu naught into M. So we can write B is equal to B naught plus Bm. So the total magnetic field is equal to interior plus exterior, or with in the absence of the magnetic material plus in the presence of the magnetic material. So B naught is equal to mu naught Ni. So we can write Ni is equal to H. So therefore B naught is equal to mu naught H. So mu naught H plus mu naught M. So B is equal to B naught plus Bm. It is mu naught H plus mu naught M. So we can write mu naught into H plus M. Now we are going to derive the equation or importance between the H and B. So B by mu naught is equal to H plus M. H is equal to B by mu naught minus M. This H is called magnetic intensity. So the total magnetic field due to a solenoid or due to any material is explained in two ways: sum of magnetic intensity plus M. So what is this H and what is this M? We are going to discuss now. So the total magnetic field inside a sample is two types. One is due to the external factors. The magnetic field due to the external factors is represented by magnetic intensity, nothing but H. One is due to the specific nature of the material used. Due to the specific nature of the material used. This is represented by M, magnetization. So magnetization is nothing but the magnetic field due to the specific nature of the material used. Magnetization intensity or H, magnetization intensity H is called as the magnetic field due to the external factors. These two are related like this. M is equal to chi H, where chi is called susceptibility. This susceptibility is one of the important terms to classify the magnetic materials. Now we are going to substitute this M is equal to chi H value in the given expression above in the previous one. We are going to find out this susceptibility values. So we know that M is equal to chi H. So B is equal to mu naught into H plus M. So we can write mu naught into H is H, M is equal to chi H. So if you take place mu naught H into 1 plus chi is equal to B. This chi is susceptibility. If this chi value is less than 0, means minus, negative values, means negative values. This will be diamagnetic substance. If this chi value is greater than 0 but small values, not the larger one, that is paramagnetic. Greater than 0, positive but small scale, it is paramagnetic. If the same chi value greater than 0 means positive only, but in large scale means the values will be high, so high. In that case, that magnetic substance is ferromagnetic. Same chi is greater than 0, positive only, but large scale, larger magnitude. That is ferromagnetic. This is the classification of magnetic materials on the basis of chi value or susceptibility values. But how they will behave, what is their nature, we are going to discuss now. So we got B is equal to mu naught H into 1 plus chi. We can write mu R is equal to 1 plus chi. So B is equal to mu naught mu R into H. Mu naught into mu R is mu H. So we can understand that where in place of 1 plus gamma chi, we wrote mu R. So what is this one? Relative magnetic permeability. This relative magnetic permeability values really gives the explanation of the different magnetic materials. So mu naught into mu R into H, we wrote B is equal to mu H. So therefore mu is equal to B by H, and we can write B is proportional to H also. So the units and dimensions of the H are similar to the units and dimensions of B. So this relative magnetic permeability is analogous to dielectric constant in electrostatics. It is analogous to dielectric constant. Analogy with respect to the dielectric constant K. This is the problem which relates the BH mu naught. The content of the problem is the solenoid has a core of a material with relative permeability 400. So we should write the quantities. Relative permeability mu R is equal to 1 plus chi is equal to 400. The windings of the solenoid are insulated from the core and carry a current of 2 amperes. The current carried by the solenoid is 2 amperes. I is equal to 2 amperes. If the number of turns is 1000 per meter, therefore N is equal to 1000 per meter. Calculate A, H, B, M, C, B and magnetizing current IM. So we will find out one by one. So first bit is A, H is equal to Ni. So N is equal to 1000, I is equal to 2 amperes. So therefore H is equal to 2000 A per meter square. So H is equal to 1000 into 2 amperes, it is 2000 A per M. So the B bit M. So if you want to find out the B M, we should find out the B first. So the B value is mu R mu naught H. mu r we have 400, mu naught 4 pi into 10 to the power of minus 7, h 2 into 10 cube. So this is 10 cube, 10 square, 10 power 5, 10 power 4 into 8, 8 into 4 by 32 pi into 10 to the power of minus 7, 32 into 3, it will be approximately 10. So you will get 1 Tesla. This is B value. So to find out the M value, so M is equal to chi h. So if you want to find out the M value is chi h, the chi is 400. So chi is equal to 1 minus mu r into h. So 1 minus mu r is 400. So mu r minus 1 is 399. H is 2 into 10 cube. 399 into 2, 798 into 10 cube. So we should find out the magnetizing current. The magnetizing current through the solenoid is nothing but the minimum amount of current which can pass through the solenoid under these magnetic fields. So it should be represented by B is equal to mu r n naught into I plus Im. So the current should cross over the core of the magnetic material to withstand with this magnetic field. So we know that mu r 400, n naught, n is equal to 1000 per meter, n naught is equal to 10. So I is equal to 2 amperes plus Im. B is equal to 1 Tesla. So from this we can write 2A plus Im is equal to 1 by 4000. So Im is equal to 1 by 4000 minus 2 amperes. So we will get 794 amperes. So almost 800 minus 2. Like that we will get 794 amperes. So this much is the current which is needed to pass over the magnetizing current which is passes through the solenoid. So we will discuss magnetic properties of materials. So the magnetic properties of the materials means on the basis of their magnetization properties, magnetic materials are classified into 3 types. Yeah, first one diamagnetic, second one paramagnetic, third one ferromagnetic. Substances. The chi value per diamagnetic is less than 0. Paramagnetic is greater than 0 but small scale. This is ferromagnetic, chi value is greater than 0 or greater than 1, large. So what are the examples? How to create the diamagnetic substances? What are the examples? We are going to discuss one by one and their uses also. First one is diamagnetic substances. The magnetic behavior of these diamagnetic substances is called diamagnetism. What is the meaning of diamagnetism? There are some magnetic materials which are called as diamagnetic substances. They have the tendency to travel from strong magnetic fields to the weak magnetic fields. That means, first of all, they won't respond for the applied magnetic fields. They have the tendency to travel from higher magnetic fields to low magnetic fields or weak magnetic fields. Higher magnetic fields to weaker magnetic fields or weak magnetic fields. So this is the first important point to observe the diamagnetic behavior of the substances. That means if this is the diamagnetic substance, the magnetic field lines always expels out like this. Expels out. There is no possibility to stay or to withstand a magnetic field inside the diamagnetic substance. The one more nature of this diamagnetic substance is diamagnetic substances are repelled by the magnets and magnet also repelled by the diamagnetic substances. That means magnet and diamagnetic substance both will repel each other. Magnet, comma, diamagnetic substance. Both will repel each other. So like this, if this is the magnet, if this is the diamagnetic, they both will repel each other. So consequently, a large separation between the diamagnetic and magnetic materials. So the diamagnetic behavior is due to the alignment of the magnetic domains. Yeah, the alignment of the magnetic domains means in atomic structure we know that the electrons which are revolving around in the orbitals, they have the orbital momentum and magnetic momentum also. The revolving electrons has the orbital momentum. And magnetic momentum also. Suppose if these electrons which are placed in the domains, when they expose to the magnetic fields, if these domains are placed in the diamagnetic behavior, diamagnetic substances, the electrons which are moving in the same direction and the electrons moving in the opposite direction, these two types of electrons will be there in case of the atomic structure for any material, or it is metal or non-metal. So when you first or when this diamagnetic substance is exposed to a magnetic field, the motion of the electrons which are in the same direction will be slowed down because of the applied magnetic field, and the motion of the electrons which are moving in the opposite direction speeds up, slows down, speeds up. So what we can understand this slowdown and speeds up because of the Lenz law also. So in Lenz law, when we applied a magnetic field near to the current carrying conductor or a simply insulated conductor, then the motion of the electrons which are at the rest are fasted up, the motion of the protons or the positive charge carriers are slowed down. That's why there is a possibility for the net change in the magnetic flux and net change in the electric field also. Such like that, so the electrons which are moving in the same direction slows down, opposite direction speeds up. Because of that, the net magnetic momentum will be zero. That's why these diamagnetic behaviors are expelled out of the magnetic field. They won't be attracted by the applied magnetic fields. The examples of the diamagnetic substances are first one bismuth, second one copper, third one water, fourth one nitrogen at STP, fifth one sodium chloride. These are all the examples of diamagnetic substances. The diamagnets are useful as superconductors also. So the best use of the diamagnetic properties of diamagnetic substances is superconductors. So superconductors are some metals. When they are cooled at extremely low temperature, cool it to low temperature, at those low temperatures it will act as a best conductor and best magnetic substances. These superconductors will repel by the magnet and magnets repel the superconductors. So as we discussed, the chi value is -1. Therefore, B is equal to -H. Next one is paramagnetism. So paramagnetic substances are exactly ulta to the diamagnetic behavior. In diamagnetism, the magnets which are diamagnet, they are repelled by the magnetic fields and travels from higher fields to the lower fields. But paramagnetic substances travel or tendency to move from weak fields to strong fields. This is the paramagnetic behavior. So this is paramagnetic material. Why it is happening actually? So as usually we know that there is a magnetic domain which contains the electrons. So there is a randomness. These are the domains in the paramagnetic materials. Means initially any atom which contains these type of domains. These are all domains. In the absence of external magnetic field which is not strong enough to align, then these domains are randomly oriented like this. So like this, we can write a domain like this. So net magnetization is 0. But when we applied a sufficient magnetic field or enough field to align these domains, then the alignment of the domain structure will be like this. So like this we can assume. This is non-alignment, this is alignment. This is alignment. So if the field is strong enough to attract the domain particles or domain electrons in a material, then if the field is non-uniform, then these paramagnetic materials will travel from weak fields to the strong fields. Weak fields to strong fields. So like this we can define the paramagnetic material. Initially, any material which contains electrons in their valence orbital is a diamagnet. Means there is no possibility for the magnetization until and unless if the field is not applied which is strong enough to align, then only they will convert to paramagnetic or ferromagnetic. But this process means a substance which is magnetized is called magnetization. This magnetization depends upon several factors. So the magnetization in paramagnetic material. This is the concept we should discuss about the paramagnetics. Magnetization in paramagnetic materials. The symbol of the magnetization is capital M. The magnetization in paramagnetic materials or magnetization of paramagnetic materials is inversely proportional to absolute temperature, directly proportional to external field. So we can write T is absolute temperature, B naught is external field. So we can write M is proportional to B naught by T. So if we remove the M proportionality constant, it is replaced by C into B naught by T, where C is Curie's constant. So if magnetic field increases, external magnetic field increases, or temperature decreases, the magnetization will increase because it is proportional to this one and inversely proportional to this one. So if temperature decreases or magnetic field increases, this magnetization will reach a point called saturated magnetization. At that point, all the dipoles are strongly aligned in the same direction. So all magnetic dipoles aligns in the same direction. So that is the point of saturated point. So at that time the magnetization is called as MS, saturated magnetization, where C is Curie's constant. So like this we can understand the magnetization in paramagnetic materials. So this is the derivation part. So we know that M is equal to C into B naught by T. So we can write this M is equal to chi h, B naught is equal to mu naught h, because B naught is equal to mu naught Ni, where Ni is equal to h. So if we substitute these values, we can write chi h is equal to C into mu naught h by, so this h and h get cancelled, we can get chi is equal to C into mu naught by T. This is called Curie's law, which explains the paramagnetism with the help of chi value or susceptibility values. So what are the examples of the paramagnetic materials? Aluminum, calcium, oxygen, not at all temperatures, oxygen which is at STP, copper chloride, calcium chloride. So these are all the examples of paramagnetic substances. Not only these, many are there. These are the widely used and well-known examples to the human beings. That's why we can list out as a known ones. So this is the information about paramagnetic materials. So the next magnetic material is ferromagnets. Ferromagnetic materials. The characteristics which are exhibited by these materials is called ferromagnetism. Yeah, the alignment in the ferromagnetic materials is similar to the paramagnetic substances. So, what is the definition of these materials? These materials have the tendency to move from weak fields to strong magnetic fields, not like in the paramagnetic. In paramagnetic, that is not strong, that is enough, means a moderate field where the paramagnets used to attract. But in case of ferromagnetic, they have the tendency to travel from weak to strong fields. These materials have the tendency to travel from weak fields to strong fields. This magnetic material has domains of size 1 millimeter. In 1 millimeter, we can expect 10 power 11 atoms or electrons. So initially, the domain structure will be like this. Yeah, as usual, when mentioned in the paramagnetic, they used to align like this. So there is no regular order for domain to domain. So like this, the domain structures will be filled. So 1 millimeter is the size of the domain, contains 10 power 11 atoms. But these ferromagnetic materials, when an external field is applied, they used to align quickly in a short interval of time. Means all the domains will align in the same direction within a short interval of time. Strongly, means it won't take much time to align. The alignment in the ferromagnetic material is very, very short interval. Like this. In short interval of time, the alignment takes place. The domains which aligned for the applied external field B naught is called giant domains. Giant. So the domains which are aligned for the applied external field in case of ferromagnetic is called giant domains. These ferromagnetic materials are two types. First one is, in some ferromagnetic materials, suppose if we remove the external field, still some magnetization and magnetic effects is persists. So they won't decreases their magnetic intensity to 0 in a short interval of time. Means if a external field is removed, still some magnetic behavior still persists in some ferromagnetic materials. Those ferromagnetic materials are called hard ferromagnets. Magnetization persists. Persists in the removal of field also. Example, iron, cobalt, aluminum, nickel, cobalt, nickel, aluminum, etc. But some ferromagnetic materials, whenever you remove the external field, nothing but the B naught in terms, suddenly their magnetization will come to 0. Those ferromagnetic materials are called soft ferromagnetic materials. Soft ferromagnets. So here magnetization will be 0. Will be 0 in the removal of field. So what are the examples for the soft ferromagnets? The magnetic materials which are ferro, which are stated in the hard magnets, we can prepare that as a soft also. Soft iron core, which is useful in the transformer. So soft iron, gadolinium, soft nickel, etc., etc. These are all the examples of the soft ferromagnets. For this soft ferromagnets, the magnetic permeability or relative magnetic permeability is greater than 1000. Greater than 1000. So this is the nature and classification of the ferromagnets. Now we will see the temperature dependence of magnetization in ferromagnets. So for ferromagnets, there is a temperature dependence of the magnetization. Not like paramagnets. So in paramagnets, if T is increases, so M is going to decreases, like that, not like this. In ferromagnetism, there is one temperature. If temperature goes on increasing, at high temperatures, these ferromagnetic materials will turn to paramagnetic behavior. At high temperatures, ferromagnets will convert to paramagnets. If this is the case, at which temperature it is taken place, that temperature is called transition temperature, above Curie's temperature. Yeah. This transition temperature is a temperature above Curie's temperature, where a ferromagnetic material is converting to paramagnetic. It is a temperature at which a ferromagnet is converting to paramagnet. So susceptibility is going to change at high temperatures. This point is very, very important. So if you relate the transition temperature and Curie's temperature with respect to the susceptibility, it will be like this. Chi is equal to C by T minus Tc, where T greater than Tc. C is Curie's constant, T is transition temperature, Tc is Curie's temperature, where the transition temperature is greater than the Curie's temperature, where this behavior of ferromagnet converts to paramagnetic behavior. This is the one of the unique property for ferromagnets. One more unique property for the ferromagnet is magnetic retentivity or persistence of the magnetic field in the absence of external field. Like this, we can classify the magnetic materials and their examples. This is the problem which relates to the ferromagnetic materials. If you see, the content of the problem is a domain in the ferromagnetic iron is in the form of a cube of side length 1 micrometer. Estimate the number of iron atoms in the domain and the maximum possible dipole moment and magnetization of the domain. The molecular mass of iron is 55 grams per mole and its density is 7.9 gram per centimeter cube. Assume that each iron has dipole moment of 9.27 × 10 to the power of minus 24 Am square. So this is a ferromagnetic material which is iron and its domain is in the shape of cube of side length 1 micrometer. So the solution of this problem is length is equal to 1 micrometer. So volume is equal to 1 micrometer whole cube. So 1 into 10 to the power of minus 6 meter whole cube. So it will be 10 to the power of minus 18 meter cube. But density is in centimeter cube. So if we convert the volume in terms of centimeter cube, it is very easy to calculate. That's why volume will be 10 to the power of minus 12 centimeter cube. First step was over. Next step is we should find out the mass of the domain. Density into volume, because density is equal to mass by volume, so mass is equal to density into volume. Density of each domain is 7.9 gram per centimeter cube. Volume is 10 power minus 12 centimeter cube. So per centimeter cube into centimeter cube will get cancelled out, so we will get mass 7.9 into 10 to the power of minus 12 grams. This is the mass. So if this is the case, per 1 mole 6.023 in 10 to the power of 23 atoms are present. So we should find out the number of atoms present in that domain. So number of atoms present in the domain. N is equal to, mass is this much, each mass 6.023 in 10 to the power of 23 particles by its total mass is 55 gram per mole. So that's for 7.9 into 10 to the power of minus 12 into 6.023 into 10 to the power of 23 whole divided by 55. So the number of atoms will be 8.65 into 10 to the power of 10 atoms. These many atoms are there in each domain, and each atom has dipole moment this much, 9.27 10 to the power of minus 24 am square. So now we should find out the maximum magnetization. So therefore maximum magnetization we can write M max is equal to, so number of atoms is 8.65 into 10 to the power of 10 into the dipole momentum of each. So it will be 9.27 into 10 to the power of minus 24 am square. So we will get 8 into 10 to the power of minus 13 am square. This is the number of atoms into dipole moment of each. So we will get 8 into 10 to the power of minus 13 am square. Next we should find out this maximum magnetization, and next the maximum magnetization per unit volume. Per unit volume. The another name of this maximum magnetization per unit volume is called consequent magnetization. This is the another name, consequent magnetization. So consequent magnetization is equal to M max is 8 into 10 to the power of minus 13 am square. So for the volume it is 10 to the power of minus 18 meter cube. So this will go up, so it will be 8 will do 10 to the power of 5. This meter cube goes up, meter power minus 1 and am power minus 1. This is the consequent magnetization. So like this we can find out the maximum possible dipole moment and magnetization of the domain. The next concept is BH curve of a ferromagnetic material. Of a ferromagnetic material or a ferromagnet. The unique property of the ferromagnet is, in the absence of external magnetic field also, retentivity takes place in the ferromagnet. Retentivity means the residual magnetic field, means the magnetization still persists in the absence of external magnetic field. This is called BH curve. So this property is called magnetic persistence. This magnetic persistence we can prove with the help of BH curve. The BH curve will be like this. So along x-axis we are taking H, along y-axis we are taking B, where H is in A by M units, where B is in Tesla, we know that. So whenever initially, internally, if a substance unmagnetized completely, and that unmagnetized substance placed inside the solenoid, first is unmagnetized, second the same unmagnetized is placed inside the solenoid. Whenever an unmagnetized substance placed inside the solenoid, then what we can understand is its magnetic behavior going to change. So typically we can expect a curve, and its magnetization will increase and reaches to a saturation level. From there onwards, what we can understand is afterwards, if you remove the magnetic field, so completely it won't come to the zero very quick moment. It takes a lot of time to come to the zero because of persistence of the magnetic field in the absence of external electric field, external magnetic field. So how it will be look like, we are going to see. So this is the BH curve or retentivity curve. An unmagnetized substance which is placed inside the solenoid, suppose if it is a ferromagnetic in nature, then slowly the domains will align in a particular direction. When it is aligning, its net magnetic moment is going to change in a positive cycle, then the maximum intensity will take place, so H value will increase and it reaches to a saturation level. So when this magnetization or H value reaches saturation level, so it won't increase it further. After reaching the saturation level, this saturation is appeared by OA curve. Increasing H and saturation. At H is equal to 0, B is not equal to 0 while it is reversing. So what we can understand is after increasing to the particular saturated level, then we turned off the magnetic field. After turning the magnetic field, what we can understand is the domains will align in the opposite direction and magnetization will coming to 0 and negative scales to 0. So this curve, APC curve, AB, reverse order. While it is coming down in the absence of external magnetic field, this AB is giving the decrease in the magnetic field, linearly decreasing. When it is linearly decreasing, at one particular point H is equal to 0, B is not equal to 0. B is somewhat some 1.0 to 1.5. We can approximate that value 1.2 Tesla. So if H is equal to 0, B is not equal to 0 and this value is equal to 1.2 Tesla. This is called retentivity. What is the meaning of retentivity? In the absence of external magnetic field, still there persists a magnetic moment. This is called retentivity. So that's why this B is not equal to 0, 1.2 Tesla is also called BR is equal to 1.2 Tesla. So magnetization field of retentivity is equal to 1.2 Tesla. Afterwards, it is coming down. At H is equal to 0, you can expect a value at C. So this value which lies in between 0 to minus 100. The value of C at H is equal to 0 is called coercivity. The value of C at H is equal to 0 is called coercivity. Then it slows down, crosses minus 100, reaches to D. So this is the positive curve, increasing saturation point. So field was turned off, then the domains are aligning in the reverse direction and fasten up. So it is crossing many other points and coming to D. So from this D onwards, we can increase the slope again. So this is called BH curve. And this BH curve gives the nature of the ferromagnetic substance. Means what is the retentivity of the ferromagnet, what is the coercivity of the ferromagnet. These values, if you want to know, this BH curve is very, very important. So if you use the hard ferromagnets, which can persist the magnetic field for a long time, we will get the BH curve in an expanded mode. If we get the soft ferromagnetic material to do this experiment, so we should not expect this curve which is in the reverse order, because the reverse order also merges with the increasing line. So this is called hysteresis loop. BH curve, and one more is called hysteresis loop. Hysteresis means lagging behind. So like this we can understand this BH curve. The next concept is permanent magnets and electromagnets. Permanent magnets means if you see the ferromagnetic material which has the high retentivity, means which can keep the magnetic field for a long time, which cannot lose easily, those are called hard ferromagnetic materials. In other words, it is said to be permanent magnets. High retentivity of ferromagnetic materials. So high retentivity of ferromagnetic materials which are can able to store the magnetic field for long interval of time, so those are called as permanent magnets, in other words. If this is the case, how to make these permanent magnets? In ancient days, they will take a rod. They took a rod, mostly in China, at the time of 400 BC. These are the persons who exploited this magnetism in a commercial way. They took one metal rod and they hammered that metal rod by keeping that rod in a north-south direction. So this is a rod of cylindrical shape, and they hammered this rod by keeping in a north-south direction. So like this it can made like a magnet. It can act like a magnet. But how much long time it can withstand with the magnetism, it can store the magnetism, which this information will be given by its BH curve. So how much retentivity it is showing, how much coercitivity it is showing, maybe it is a iron, steel, or whatever may be the other materials. If whose coercitivity is more, those materials are the best materials to manufacture the permanent magnets. Olden days, if you want to listen any matter, audio cassettes were used. Nowadays we are using CDs, DVDs, Blu-ray disc. These all are made up of ferromagnets, which can keep the information in a electromagnetic wave form, then the data cannot be lost easily. The ferromagnetic materials, the best example of the ferromagnetic material is external or internal hard disks of a system, a computer system. Those are also made up of ferromagnets. So it cannot be erasable easily because it's a coercitivity. So if you want to get a good magnet, which is a permanent magnet for a long run use, we should check its coercitivity and retentivity. Aspect of these 2 points, iron, cobalt, these are all the materials we can use as permanent magnets. Electromagnets are different. Electromagnets means the magnetic materials which are made by passing the electric field through it. Suppose an unmagnetized substance which is placed inside a solenoid, and through the solenoid if you pass some amount of current, the rod which is placed inside the electromagnet will be magnetized, but it is for short interval of time. So internally we should take a solenoid and these are the number of windings placed on a solenoid. Internally we should keep an unmagnetized substance, and these windings, so they are connected to a battery. So like this. Whenever some amount of AC current or DC current, instead of this we can use this symbol also. It is nothing but the AC current. This is DC. whenever some amount of AC current is passing through these electromagnets, means solenoids, this alternation of or the alternative direction of AC current can produce the magnetic field of for this material. So AC electric field alternatively variable, which can produce the magnetic field or magnetization in this material. So these materials mostly soft materials, soft ferromagnets like soft iron. So this soft iron is useful in transformer, which can allows the mutual induction, which has low retentivity. If this retentivity is high, means it could not persist the magnetic field inside it after the removal of the field. So that's why the transformers will used to work as the mutual inductors from one coil to the another coil. So because of this property, this soft nature, this will used in some soft electrical objects like electric bells, the mic diaphragms, next calling bells, mouth speakers. These are all the examples where we are using these electromagnets. So these electromagnets should have this low retentivity, which can keep decreasing the current, eddy currents. Because if eddy currents are removed in nature, then only the dissipation of heat energy will be decreases. Then the functioning of this transformer core will be very good. So which can withstand with eddy currents. This point is also so important in case of soft magnetic materials. So these are all the examples. So electromagnetic means the magnets which are made up of passing through the electric field. Means when an electric field is passed through a conductor, that conductor will act as a magnet. The best example we can say that if it is a rod, if this rod is connected to a battery, means some AC current is better because that alternative current which can be for the long time. When an AC current is passing through a rod like this, if you place it a magnetic strip or a pin or a small another magnetic material, it will be attracted, sticks. Once you remove the field, it will fall down. So we can understand that if AC current is passing through the conducting materials, it will act as a electromagnet. So it will be a temporary magnetism. Suppose there is a loss in the shape, fell down or heated, there is a possibility for the loss of electromagnetism. So the magnetism can be preserved by avoiding the heat, by avoiding the physical stress on the magnet. Then we can keep these magnets for our use. So like this we can understand the magnetism and magnetic materials. So in this lesson we have discussed about the different magnetic substances, their examples and their uses, and the different terminologies which are useful to find out or to locate the geographical meridian of the magnetic field. So like this we can understand this lesson.